I'm Turk Strongman, current resident at Mind Voltage. In this video, we continue our narration of The Secret of the Emerald Tablet by Dr. Galia Blatz. Before I continue, we'll go into Chapter 2, The Ancient Arcana Revealed. But before I continue, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now's your chance. Go ahead, do it right now. That way you can also activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of our new uploads. Also, immediately below this media player window, the one you're looking at right now, you'll see the thumb up icon. Go ahead, click on that to instantly and easily share the joy of this channel with others. And also, just below that, in the video description area, you will find donation by PayPal information. Please make a note of it. Chapter 2, The Ancient Arcana Revealed. The Chemical Arcana. Before we attempt to interpret the meaning of the Emerald Tablet, we must become familiar with some of the chemicals with which the ancient alchemists worked. The existence of these chemicals were considered great secrets, arcana, and their reactions and properties symbolized the basic forces in evolution of the universe. The central tenet of the tabula was that the microcosm reflected the macrocosm, as above, so below. The Emerald Tablet is written on many different levels, and one of these hidden levels presents a complete description of the chemistry of the Arcanum, the single substance that could produce all the miracles promised by the alchemists. The single arcanum was made with 4 chemical compounds: vitriol, natron, pulvis solaris, and liquor hepatis. Vitriol. The alchemists secured both sulfuric acid and iron from an oily substance that appeared naturally from the weathering of sulfur-bearing gravel. The substance was known as the green vitriol, or iron vitriol. When it was heated, it broke down into a mixture of iron oxide, iron sulfate, and sulfuric acid. The acid was separated out by distillation. The acid produced from green vitriol is brown and stinks like rotten eggs. Taking the distillation further produces a heavy, nearly odorless, yellow liquid known as oil of vitriol. Still further distillation and rectification gives a clear acid called sulfuricum decoratum, or sulfuricum medicinal. Sulfuric acid is a corrosive acid that reacts with most metals, but not gold. It also has a tremendous affinity for water. In a flask of oil of vitriol, if a flask of oil of vitriol is allowed to stand open some time, the acid absorbs water vapor from the air and overflows its container. It was considered the agent of change and transformation in most alchemical experiments, and remains an indispensable agent in nearly all modern manufacturing industries. The Egyptians smelted iron ore as far back as 1500 BC. They used rust to heal wounds, and probably prepared a therapeutic tonic from pure iron sulfate. This was its form when separated from the green vitriol during the distillation process to produce sulfuric acid. Green vitriol, in its natural state, is a powerful disinfectant. Iron has long been associated with strength and blood, and many of its compounds are named after Mars, the god of war. Iron ore is extremely abundant in the Earth's crust, and its compounds are responsible for most of the green, yellow, brown, and red coloring in rocks. Natron. The word natron is from the Arabian name for the white salts that accumulated on dry lake beds. The word was used by the alchemists to refer to either one of 2 sodium compounds. The first of these was natron carbonicum, soda ash or sodium carbonate, which appears on dry lake beds and forms on the surface of some rocks or is mined out of the earth. The world's oldest known deposits are in Egypt. Natron carbonicum can also be prepared by pouring sulfuric acid over common table salt, leaving a residue that is allowed to dry. The pure crystals of sodium carbonate can then be isolated. The second natron was natron nitricum, or sodium nitrate. It occurs naturally as cubic saltpeter, or chili saltpeter, and needs only to be refined and to be used medicinally. It can also be obtained by pouring acid of saltpeter or nitric acid over common table salt. The alchemists made nitric acid by pouring sulfuric acid over common saltpeter or potassium nitrate. They called the new acid aqua fortis and used it to separate silver from gold. In the natron salt solution, the acid is distilled out and the residue allowed to crystallize. Alchemists sometimes refer to this nitric acid solution as natron acid. The alchemists never associated the metal sodium with natron because of its tendency to immediately form compounds. However, they did suspect an elemental basis for the vast majority of salts that cover the earth. To them, natron symbolized the common principle in all salts and the formation of bodies in general. Liquor hepatis. The simplest way to produce liquor hepatis is to mix hydrogen sulfide with spirit of ammonia. This method was discovered by later Western alchemists. Ancient alchemists were not familiar with this technique and were forced to prepare the liquor by distilling a solution of sulfur, lime, and sal ammoniac, or ammonium chloride. They produced ammonia by gently heating nitrogenous matter such as camel dung in sealed containers. The resulting putrefaction produced a variety of ammonia compounds. Because of its red-brown color, liquor hepatis was associated with the liver. The name comes from the Greek word hepar, meaning liver. Other obvious characteristics of liquor hepatis are its oily consistency and sulfuric content. In fact, some alchemists saw it as a solution of sulfur in oil and called it oleum sulfuris or hepar sulfuris. Liquor hepatis exuded a pungent odor the alchemists could not account for. They equated this mysterious fragrance with an ethereal presence hidden in the sulfur and the lime and activated by the fertile principle in ammonia. To the ancient alchemists, this fetid odor symbolized the unredeemed soul, a spiritized presence which Egyptians believed resided in the liver. As soul, it could not be broken down any further. By thickening the liquor into a balsam, they incorporated this odor into a solid body. Generally, a balsam is made from a fragrant oil to which is added fat, wax, or honey as a thickening agent. The result is a pasty solid. The balsam of hepatis came to be known as the balsam of the alchemists, or the balsam of the soul. The possibility of materializing a hidden presence into a second body, like a balsam, became a fundamental goal of alchemy. Not only did the liquor hepatis contain the principle of the soul, but it suggested the idea of its resurrection long before it became a Christian dogma. Pulvis solaris. If liquor hepatis represented soul, then pulvis solaris represented spirit. Pulvis solaris was made up of a mixture of red pulvis solaris and black pulvis solaris. These two powders of the sun were created separately by combining sulfur auratum with either red mercuric oxide or black antimony. The unique properties of the red pulvis solaris were to fire the imagination of alchemists for many hundreds of years. Mercury was known to the alchemists as quicksilver, or the living silver, argentium vivum. It could be found weeping through cracks in rocks or accumulated in small puddles in mountain grottos. By roasting rocks of mercury sulfide or cinnabar, the shiny metal dripped down into the ashes from which it was later collected. The red oxide of mercury can be made by heating mercury in a long-necked flask. The mercury is oxidized into a white poisonous powder and red therapeutic crystals. The Alexandrians knew of at least one other way. By heating a mixture of mercury and acid of saltpeter, or nitric acid, a larger quantity of red mercuric oxide was precipitated. This crystalline oxide was dried, rubbed with mercury, and heated once again. Then it was ground fine and washed in distilled water. A very small percentage dissolved in the liquid, which was used for medicinal purposes. The dried red powder, when mixed with sulfur auratum, became red pulvis solaris. What the alchemists found highly significant in this process was the appearance of a thick red vapor above the surface of the nitric acid. in conjunction with the accumulation below of a red precipitate. This process illustrated the simultaneous separation of mercury into the above and the below. Mercury obviously contained the arcanum of both heaven and earth. The opposing properties of mercury were demonstrated in other compounds. Calomel, or mercury chloride, is a powerful medicine, a liver stimulant, and a cathartic, unless it is directly exposed to light. In that case, it becomes a deadly poison. Liquid mercury tends to solidify and form amalgams with other metals. Therefore, quicksilver came to symbolize the god Mercury, or Hermes, who was the god of the god of both heaven and earth, of thresholds and transitions, a guide of souls. Sulfur was known to the ancients as brimstone, the burning stone, and was widely used for medicinal purposes. Pure natural sulfur was thought to exist in two varieties, red and white. Sulfur auratum, golden sulfur, was made by first heating a solution of black antimony, sublimated sulfur, sodium carbonate, and milk of lime. The dried mixture is known today as Schlip's salt. When sulfuric acid is added to the salt, hydrogen sulfide gas is formed and the sulfur auratum settles to the bottom. This process is similar to the production of red mercuric oxide. Both develop a gas above and a solid precipitate below. Black antimony is a naturally occurring sulfide of antimony known as stibnite. The mineral is smelted and ground fine. It was used medicinally by mixing the powder in distilled water. Roasting of the mineral and reduction with powdered charcoal releases the pure metallic antimony. Mixing the finely ground mineral with sulfur auratum produced the black pulvis solaris. Pulvis solaris was also known by Western alchemists as the Bezoradicum. Excuse me. A bezoar is a concretion sometimes found in the intestines of animals and men. Egyptian priests discovered them during the preparation of animal and human mummies. Bezoars are usually made up of hair, food, or vegetable fiber. At one time, physicians thought the mass protected the body from poisons and actually prescribed it for patients. However, Egyptian alchemists believed the bezoar was a magical substance formed by the large serpent, the intestines, in man. They even looked for the magical pill in the small serpent, the brain, which looked remarkably like intestines in the head. Since early alchemists associated the serpent with the red mercury precipitate, they also referred to red pulvis solaris as the pulvis serpentum. Certainly, sulfur auratum seems to have an affinity for either red mercuric oxide or black antimony, with which it clumps together immediately. Furthermore, some alchemists believed that red mercuric oxide was somehow naturally produced by snakes, just as black antimony was thought to be produced by plants. They believed that bezoars could be found not only in animals and man, but also in the plant kingdom. In fact, they considered gold to be a mineral bezoar formed in the bowels of the earth. The colors of the arcana. Alchemists believed that color to be an important feature of chemical compounds and sometimes grouped substances by their colors instead of their chemical properties. The alchemists associated different colors with the specific alchemical qualities, such as the life force, green, or transformative power, red, or the presence of certain metals, such as gold, yellow. Each arcana had a specific colors associated with it. Sulfuric acid was yellow, although in its crudest form, brown. Iron was usually associated with the color red, although it imparted a green color to many of its compounds. Sodium carbonate was white, and sodium nitrate was associated with the color blue, the color of natron acid. Liquor hepatis was reddish-brown, but it was often associated with the green color of bile. Red pulvis solaris was in fact reddish-orange in color due to the mixture of the red mercuric oxide with yellow sulfur auratum. Similarly, black pulvis solaris was actually of a brown color due to the mixture of the black antimony with sulfur. The mixture of the red and black powders produced pulvis solaris, which had an orange-brown color. The 7 arcana. 3 of the 4 major arcana usually consist of dual ingredients and are easily separable. Vitriol can be broken down into sulfuric acid and iron. Natron appears as sodium carbonate and sodium nitrate. Pulvis solaris is used as red pulvis solaris, or mercuric oxide and sulfur, and the black pulvis solaris, antimony sulfide and sulfur. Thus, 7 compounds comprise the ancient arcana: sulfuric acid, iron, sodium carbonate, sodium nitrate, liquor hepatis, red pulvis solaris, and black pulvis solaris. These were the secret ingredients used in the creation of the arcana. The Emerald Tablet contains encoded instructions on how to combine these compounds in the ARCANUM experiment. In the following video, Chapter 3, the first revision, the Tabula Smaragda. And it begins with the first revision of the Emerald Tablet. The following is the text of the first revision of the Emerald Tablet. It was probably written by a Greek or Jew between 300 BC and 270 BC. The original Latin document is divided into 4 rubrics in which the initial letters of selected sentences are emphasized in red ink. But that's for the next video. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now's your chance. Go ahead and do it right now. That way you can also activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of our new uploads. Immediately below the media player and window that you're looking at right now, you will find a thumb up icon. Click on that to easily and instantly share the joy of this channel with others. And just a little further down in the video description area, you will find a donation by PayPal information. Please make a note of it. See you in the next video. I'm Turk Strongman, current resident at Mindholders.